Hello and welcome to another episode of Actor Talk. In this week's episode, I am going to actually be starting a series on how to start a career in acting. This is going to be for anybody who is trying to get started in the acting business. So I'm going to give you a lot of different tips and just basically a guide on how to get started in acting. So let's jump in with our first video. So the first thing I want to talk about in this series is going to be training. Training is so important for anyone who wants to become a professional actor. It's the same thing if you want to become a professional dancer, a professional musician, if you want to become a lawyer, a doctor, anything that you want to do, you really need to get training in that field. It's exactly the same for acting. And I think it's really important that you get trained as an actor, because if you don't, you're not going to have the skills necessary to sustain a career in the field. So let's hop into this topic. So first with training, I want to talk about acting methods. Now there are quite a few different acting methods out there. There's Meister, Strasberg, Adler, Chekhov, so on and so forth. There's a lot of different methods out there. And before I get into these, I just want to say that there is a difference between method acting and non-method acting. My definition of method acting is any system that basically gives you a full comprehensive guide or process really for how to act. So what this is doing, Meister, Strasberg, Adler, these different teachers, they developed systems, processes for how to act, giving you everything from the fundamentals of listening and whatever, all the way up to breaking down a script and preparing the character. Now, as I've said before in other videos, my belief is that acting is broken down into two categories, method acting and non-method acting. And I say that method acting means you're trained, and non-method acting means you're not trained. You didn't study any process, any system of acting. You just kind of make it up as you go. That's my personal opinion on this. And anyone who studied any method of acting, any system of acting, is a method actor. If you studied Meister, you are a method actor. If you studied Strasberg, who became famous for method acting, it's still a method just like any of the others that are on this list. So knowing and studying a method and using that to act, I consider method acting. If you have no training whatsoever in any of these, then I don't consider you to be a trained actor in that sense. So I really think you need to study one or more of these different acting methods. I personally studied Meister. I personally think it's the best acting method out there. But again, acting is pretty much, it's the end justifies the means, as I talked about before. It has to work for you. And I realize Meister may, for some reason, not work for certain people, but by and large, it works for most everybody. And it's a great place to start for sure if you're trying to get into acting, because it teaches you the fundamentals of really listening, living truthfully, talking about emotional preparation. It gets into all the basics of acting. And the most fundamental one is listening and responding truthfully, and then works all the way up to breaking down a script, analyzing it, learning how to build the character from the ground up so you can give a truthful and vibrant performance. So definitely study that. Next are improv classes. Now, improv classes are good for a number of reasons. They are great because if you're doing, say, a stage performance, you're doing a live performance and something goes wrong, you know how to work around that and keep moving and stay in character, really. Improv is an art form of its own and is used a lot in a lot of different schools that teach improv. They do improv shows. You can become a professional improv artist where all you do is improv. And so if you want to go that route, definitely take improv classes. But if you're looking to become a serious actor, improv classes can help you. They can help you get loose. They can help you be more comfortable doing things that are outside of your comfort zone. So that way you become more well-rounded as an actor. So definitely take improv classes if you can. Next are commercial acting classes, and commercial acting classes are really important for anybody who wants to do more than just do movies and television or theater. And really, in my opinion, if you're going to be an actor, you need to diversify. You need to do movies, you need to do television, you need to do theater, you need to do commercials, you need to do industrials, audiobooks, a lot of different things that you can do. And you should definitely do it, not say, I'm only going to do movies and nothing else, because you're limiting your field. So you want to be able to do as many different things as you can. And improv or commercial acting is a great thing to do. So doing commercial acting classes is going to be really helpful, because commercial acting classes are going to help you learn how to break down the copy that you're given for the commercial, so you can create something really fast, because a lot of commercial auditions, you don't get the material until you're there in the audition room. Other times you might get it a little bit ahead of time, but that's kind of rare. And so you need to be able to come up with stuff on the fly. And with the commercial acting classes, you also get a chance to do mock commercial auditions. So you're kind of putting everything that you learn in the class all together, like as if you're actually doing a commercial audition. And I'll just say this too about auditions, and most of you already know this, but auditions, generally speaking, are all very different. They're never exactly the same. I've done a couple different commercial auditions, and none of them were anywhere remotely the same or similar in any way. So you want to be taking classes like this that'll help you be ready for anything that comes your way, because that's going to happen. Next are on-camera classes, and these are really important if you're going to do film and television, because you're working in front of a camera. And when it comes to working in front of a camera, there's a lot of different things you have to worry about. You have to worry about what your framing is. You have to worry about where your mark is and hitting your mark, so that way you're in focus and in frame. You have to learn about eye line. Where are you looking? Which side of the camera are you looking at? With which eye are you looking at the other person? A lot of other things like that go into acting on camera. So there are on-camera acting classes that you can take that will teach you all of that and get you ready for not just on-camera work in general, but for on-camera auditions when you have to do them in person, but specifically for actually working on set. Audition classes, they are around. I don't see too many of them necessarily, but they are around in different places. You'll probably find them more in Chicago, Los Angeles, and New York than some other places. But if you can find them, they're a good thing too, because they're teaching you the steps to auditioning for, and depending on what the focus is, they might be doing more film, they might be doing more of a theater focus. So look around and see what you can find, and the good thing about that is you get a chance to actually do mock auditions. Similar to the commercial acting classes, you're actually going to do everything from A to Z with the auditions, and do it for your classmates and do it for your teacher. And by the way, I did a video before, a couple weeks ago, on how to prepare for auditions, so click the link and watch that, and that can help you as well. All right, next, voice. So I'm not just talking singing, although taking singing lessons can be really beneficial. I'm talking voices in just your normal speaking voice. Knowing how to speak properly, I'm not talking just grammar. I'm talking using your voice mechanically correctly, so that way you're not hurting it. You're not overdoing it and ruining your voice, getting laryngitis all the time. So, and this is especially true if you're doing theater, where you're doing multiple shows a week or even multiple shows a day. And you want to be keeping your voice in tip-top shape and not stretching it too far. And so voice classes like Linklater can really help you learn how to use your voice properly, so you're not straining it, you're keeping it healthy, and you're using it properly, and highly recommend taking those classes. Your voice is one of your most important tools. Movement. Movement's really important, especially in theater, because your presence on stage is going to be affected by how you move in your posture. And so the Alexander technique works with you on posture and movement, but it's a dual thing. It's not just about stage presence and knowing how to walk so that way it fits with whatever time period you're in, or just walking properly or whatever. It's also about maintaining a healthy body. It's about using your body's structure in the correct way so that way you're not getting hurt, basically. You're not running into like neck problems or back problems and things like that. You're learning how to take care of yourself and use movement properly. So I would definitely recommend checking that out as well. Accents. Accents are really important for any actor. Depending on what you look like ethnically, you may be required to do a wide variety of accents. I would be asked probably to do things like a British accent, Australian accent, German, French, Irish, Scottish, Southern, Western, Canadian. There's just Polish. There's just so many different accents I could be asked to do. And so learning accents is important. And I just want to say, you can't learn an accent from watching a movie where an actor uses an accent. You have to go to a dialect coach and study with them. They will go through everything you need to know. They'll talk about vowel changes and consonant changes, the flow of the words, how it all kind of moves along, so that way you get an idea of the pitch and the range and the articulation. All these things you're learning in order to be able to do it correctly. Oftentimes in movies, the actors are not doing it 100% correct, so you can't rely on that. And watching YouTube videos, while they may offer some help, there might be a couple of things they're getting right. They don't necessarily go in depth enough, but then the worst thing about that is you're not getting feedback. With a dialect coach, you're able to repeat back what you're being taught, and they can give you instant feedback and tell you if you've got it or if you need to keep working on it. So I recommend going to a dialect coach. Definitely learn a British accent. That's very common. I would say probably even learn a Southern accent. There's a lot of other ones too that you could look at and go, I think I should learn that one. And definitely if you get a part in a movie or play or whatever where you are asked to do an accent, if you don't know it, contact a dialect coach and learn it. That's definitely going to be really, really important. So you don't have to go out and learn 30 accents, tomorrow. You just need to know which ones are most likely to be requested of you and try to start working on those if you can. And then there's dance. Now, dance is, again, more focused towards musical theater. So if you're an actor and you don't really want to do musical theater or anything involving dance, don't worry about it. But you never know when the day may come where you get a role for a movie and you're required to dance. Think, films like Pride and Prejudice or other films of that nature where you may be required to dance, and so having some dance background can be really helpful. All right, let's talk about acting schools and studios. So with acting schools, you definitely want to get the training that I just talked about, and there are some pros and cons depending on where you go, which we're going to talk about. So let's talk about private studios versus colleges. So there are a lot of differences when it comes to a private acting school, private acting studio, and college. With private acting studios, they're typically less expensive, whereas with college, they're going to be more expensive because you're paying for credits and all that. You're paying less per session, and most acting schools will break it down into an 8 or 10 week session for all the different levels that they teach. The studio I went to for acting had 5 levels, and it was I think it was 8 weeks for every single class, and it was an hour and a half each class. No, let's say an hour and a half, 2.5 hours each class, and super in depth. So they will focus more on one aspect of acting. So level 1 would be learning about responding truthfully and really listening. Level 2 is going to be about emotional preparation, and it kind of builds up from there to eventually you're working on full-blown scenes and how to break them down and how to build a character. So you get all that. With colleges, on the other hand, they're typically more expensive. Like I said, you're usually paying for the credits as well as other things that are all put in with that, textbooks or what have you. They usually cover more in a short amount of time, so you're really not doing a whole lot of in-depth study into one area. You're usually skimming over it and just kind of getting a basic understanding of it and then moving on to the next thing. So you get a lot more information in the sense that you're learning about maybe theater history, you're learning maybe set design, and you're learning makeup, a lot of other things as well. So it's not strictly just acting, it's like all aspects of theater or whatever, depending on which college you go to. So it's not as in-depth into the acting techniques. If you're studying to be a professional actor, personally, I recommend acting studio over college. Then there's private coaching. Now, private coaching has a couple of advantages. First of all, it's one-on-one. It's you and the teacher. So you get to spend the entire time, however long that session is, an hour, hour and a half, whatever, with you and the teacher working on just you, which is great because the whole time is dedicated to you and you're really able to make sure that you're really learning it and being able to apply it. When you're in a class setting, you go up, you do 10, 15 minutes maybe. Usually earlier on it's less than that, and later you usually get more time as you increase through the levels, but it's usually a smaller amount of time, and then you watch everyone else go. And while it's beneficial to watch the other students go and hear what the teacher's feedback is for them, you can use that and apply that to yourself if you come across similar things. It's just not as in-depth for just you personally. So that's one of the things. Also, you get a more flexible schedule when it comes to one-on-one coaching. And the reason why that's great is because if you can't make it to a class, you have to skip a class because of a family emergency or something else that you just can't make it to the class, you miss out on that class. And now you're trying to play catch up, or you just have to forego it altogether. You're not getting all the training. Whereas with a private coach, you can usually reschedule. So if, Friday doesn't work, maybe do Saturday. Yes, Saturday works. Boom, you're set up. So you can ensure that you're getting the training consistently. And you can even say, hey, are you able to teach me 2 times a week, 3 times a week? You can change it as you go, as opposed to being locked into once a week on this day for 8 weeks, and then that's that. So there are those pros. Now, there are some cons. And that is, a lot of acting coaches don't teach the fundamentals of acting. What do I mean? They tend to teach you more scene study. So they're working with you on, okay, here's the script, your first coaching session. They hand you a script and they say, okay, read through the script and do this, do this, do this, do this, and break it down and do this. And that's important. That's important to know. But if you're just starting off in acting, you have no training, that's not what you need right now. Right now, you need to learn how to really listen, how to respond truthfully. All those things are prerequisites to doing any sort of scene study, because those things are the foundation. Think about it like this. When it comes to building a house, you have the foundation, then you have the building on top. You have the walls, you have the struts and everything in between, keeping it supported, and you have the roof. The script is like the roof. It's the very top, very last thing you put on. And learning to listen and respond truthfully is the basement. It's the foundation. It's the first thing that's laid, so that way you actually have something solid to work from. Otherwise, you end up going there and you're doing all this scene analysis stuff and getting in your head, and then you go out and you do the scene and you're just very dead. You're just very bland. There's no listening going on. There's no truth in it because you've missed the fundamental. And basically, you can't have a building standing without a foundation. So you need the foundation. And that foundation is the fundamentals, which I just talked about. And a lot of private acting coaches don't teach the fundamentals. Some do, but a lot don't. So if you're going to go with a private coach, find one who actually teaches the fundamentals. Then there's online classes. There's websites like masterclass.com and others that have either well-known actors teaching a workshop or masterclass, or there are other lesser known, or I'll even say unknown, actors or teachers who have complete online based classes. Those can be good, but a word of caution, some of them may not teach fundamentals. Again, going to like masterclass.com, great stuff. However, most of what they teach are not necessarily fundamentals. They may throw a couple fundamentals in there, but by and large, it's more about character development and scene study again. And it's basically coming up with the premise that you've already got the basic training out of the way. You've got the fundamentals down. That's kind of the approach I take when I look at websites like masterclass.com. So, in my opinion, you should go to an acting studio, acting school. If you can't go to an acting school, try to find a private coach. You may live somewhere out in the middle of nowhere where you don't have access to an actual acting school. In that case, go with a private coach. And right now with COVID, private coaching is the way to go. And a lot of acting schools, I should say this, a lot of acting schools are now teaching online. So you can take classes online through Zoom or whatever. So that definitely is an option too. But if that doesn't work for you for some reason, go with a private coach. If you can't find a private coach, maybe you're not looking hard enough. But if you can't find a private coach, online classes such as masterclass.com is the other way to go. So, that being said, you want to make sure that you are getting the best quality training you can. Make sure that you are really putting the effort in to get the fundamentals down. That'll give you a good foundation to start building on with your career, and I'll use the word liberally, but guarantee success in the field. Because if you don't have a good foundation laid, no matter what else happens, you're not going to go very far. So you want to make sure you have a really solid foundation that comes from learning the fundamentals. So training, get training. That is so important. If you want to become a professional actor and do this as a career, you need to start with the fundamentals and get good training. All right, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this helpful. Be sure to like and subscribe to my channel and watch for my next videos in this series. I will be doing a lot more, so be sure to watch for those. Thank you so much and keep living truthfully.